So you're saying that one of the victims had actually managed to escape, and two of your officers escorted him back to Dahmer's.
Wait. You just gonna let him take this baby back inside?
Man, let us do our job.
Well, it is now official. With more than 701 million hours viewed, Dahmer is the second most viewed English Netflix series of all time. But the true crime series about the notorious serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer has faced a lot of backlash from families and friends of the victims who say the series uses their trauma for entertainment as well as profit. So here with us this morning to discuss the appeal of the Dahmer series and also the fact that you can't go through any streaming service and not scroll through so many true crime series is Dr. Stacy Nye, clinical psychologist and the director of the UW-Milwaukee Psychology Clinic in Wisconsin. That's the state where Dahmer committed most of his murders. Welcome to the show, doctor. Thank you for being here because this topic is fascinating to me. So why are so many people really just obsessed almost with shows and movies about serial killers like Jeffrey Dahmer? Why is that entertaining to people?
I think that we are fascinated by evil, the evil that's committed by other people. We want to really try to understand why people like this commit these crimes. We want to help solve the puzzle and the mystery. And I think for some people, it helps us feel prepared, I need to pay better attention when I'm walking down the street. I need to not make the same mistake that person did, things like that.
That is such a good point because I love shows like Criminal Minds, Law & Order SVU, really any Law & Order or Blue Bloods, things like that. And that was my main reason was because, hey, I tell my husband all the time, I'm going to be one of those people that, you will find skin under my nails if I ever go missing. I promise. But still, there is kind of that weird factor in that fascination, too. But the families of victims call the series traumatizing. Why does a dramatization of a real-life event cause distress for family and friends, even if they don't necessarily see it? I'm imagining social media may play a part in that because it is everywhere.
Yeah, and these families are still around often, and families feel like shows like this really sensationalize the killer, and so families and victims of families or families of victims feel exploited by shows like this. They're not usually consulted, and their parts are very small, and so they feel like they don't have a say, and they can't control this news cycle and the show and the social media, and people are probably reaching out to them. So it is traumatizing for them.
And in this situation, not only the victims' families have spoken out, but Jeffrey Dahmer's mother has spoken out also saying that she doesn't see how they can use our names and put stuff out like that. And so it's kind of that same thing where it's kind of encroaching on that, okay, this happened, sure, but there comes a time when people need to move on as well and try to live their lives. A lot of people who watched the series said they had to take breaks between episodes. I know some people who have watched just the first 3 episodes and said, hey, I can't do it anymore. I refuse to watch it because I've heard so many awful things about it. How can watching a series like Dahmer affect a person's mental health?
Well, it can lead some people certainly to have nightmares, to be afraid to leave their house. I think on the flip side, I know that I watched the first episode and found it, really horrifying. And then I kind of accommodated to that. Mm-hmm. So that's very concerning, actually, that I got less afraid as time went on. So I think that studies have shown that people do tend to feel just more hardened towards seeing violence and things like that. And that's probably not a good thing.
No. And what was also interesting? I was talking to one of my friends about this show, and she watched the entire thing. And she said by the end of it, throughout it, she's like, okay, this is really just horrid. But then by the end of it, she actually felt kind of bad for Jeffrey in some ways. What is that phenomenon too?
Well, I think that's really the way Ryan Murphy portrayed him, mm-hmm. that he does make him we feel a little empathy towards him. He stressed himself that he didn't torture his victims. He, drugged them so they wouldn't feel pain. He got baptized at the end. So I think in his mind, he was trying to make amends. And I think good television is one that really pushes us to see the duality in people, that most people aren't all bad. They have some redeeming qualities. So if we can feel challenged like that, that's probably good television. This is a dramatization. It's not really, it wasn't a documentary. So.
Wow, it is just absolutely fascinating. All right, Dr. Stacy Nye, director of the UW Milwaukee Psychology Clinic. Thank you so much for your insight. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Yep.